In this video, our guest Ritu Java from PPC Ninja shows how to use the brand analytics tool to get valuable data for Amazon PPC, SEO, and product research that allows to better optimize PPC campaigns and product listings. Also, if you need software to automate your PPC campaigns, check the link below for the PPC Ninja. Also, there is a special offer for you to sign up. And this video is hosted by LISETT LEES. She works with different Amazon brands and sellers. And as always, if you like these videos, click the like button below and subscribe to our channel.
Hi Ritu, I'm really happy to have you here on Orange Klik channel today. Before we go to today's presentation, could you please introduce yourself and tell us what you do in the Amazon space?
Yeah, hi Lisette, so good to see you again. So my name is Ritu Java and I am the CEO and co-founder of PPC Ninja. We are a software services and education company.
That's really good. So today you will talk about brand analytics tool, which is very important for Amazon sellers and which is available for brand owners on Amazon. So it should be really interesting to learn more about it. I know you have a presentation for us as well, so you can introduce yourself a little bit more and share us what you have prepared.
So today we're just going to talk about some creative ways to mine data from brand analytics. And as you know, brand analytics has been around for a little bit, almost I would say 2 years. And it had a previous kind of, predecessor, a different named repository that was only available to certain types of sellers, maybe even hidden from view from most other people. But now it's available to anyone who is brand registered. So it's really interesting that there's so much information that we can get from there, and not many people go there, which is a shame. So my goal today is to make sure that I communicate some of the creative ways that I'm using brand analytics for PPC and for other purposes, including SEO, sometimes even product research. So I'm going to be talking about those things today. So before that, let me just give you a quick intro. So I was, of course, born in India a long time ago. I moved to Japan and I lived there for 17 years. And that's actually where I started my e-commerce journey as an Etsy seller. So I used to design jewelry and it was really a side hobby because my main kind of work was, I'm an engineer. So my main work was in a software company and, it was like a full-time job. But then when my kid was born, I was like, I had to give up my job, but I had, this side interest that I kind of developed into something more than a passion. And it became like a business on the side, and it became pretty big. So, some of the things that I learned with my, entry into e-commerce is that you can't just have a product and expect it to be visible and to start selling, even though it's the best product in the world. You can't assume that. So I had to really teach myself all the basics of marketing and product photography, blogging, sharing the word, creating groups, Facebook ads, Google ads, all of that stuff. And then I realized that I needed a little bit more of a formal kind of education in data. So I kind of went back to school and I moved to the United States and did a course in data science there and had a very good opportunity after that to work for a very large 8-figure seller on Amazon. And that was really my journey, the start of my Amazon journey. And haven't looked back since. It's been 4 years. I've moved to Canada, and now I'm the CEO and co-founder of PPC Ninja. So that's kind of my e-commerce background. So let's dive into brand analytics. So I just think it's a gold mine, right? And people kind of realize that, but probably not use it as much. So I would just like to say that at some point the data that is available to us in brand analytics was actually going for something like 40K on the black market. So people were buying this data from through sneaky sources and paying a lot of money to get access to this. So you can imagine how valuable this data is because it's coming from Amazon, directly from Amazon. So that just makes it amazing in terms of like just the history of it. But now that it's available to brand registered sellers, just know that if you aren't brand registered, you can get brand registered fairly easily these days because you only need to be brand the trademark pending, and then you can apply for it. And there's companies that can help you do that fairly quickly within a couple of weeks even. So I mean, if you can do that, then you have access to this amazing repository of data. And it's, there's so many tools out there that can do scraping, tell you keyword search volume, what are the best keywords to target and so on. But nothing beats the source because it is reliable and it's coming straight from Amazon. So that's kind of just the background of what brand analytics is. So now let's dive into what is offered under brand analytics. And there's a couple of different options, as you can see. So what they call it is consumer behavior. And this is like several dashboards that are available under this section. So there's, of course, the Amazon search terms. And in short, this is the place where you can find all of the search terms, or at least the top 2 million or so search terms for a particular market. So it's divided by market. So it's available for COM, CO, UK, and so on. Every brand analytics is different. And you can basically search for keyword trends there. You can just see what are the top keywords that people are typing into the search bar, and that information is available along with, the top 3 ASINs that are winning those keywords. Then we have this very interesting section called the repeat purchase behavior, which basically tells you information about your brand. Of course, this is all of Amazon, the first one. The second one is specific to your brand and what is being purchased, repeatedly, right? And that's really valuable information because then you can know what kind of products to double down on, right? And how you might be wanting to advertise more on those repeat purchase products. So that's another interesting one. The third one, which I use quite a bit, is market basket analysis. Again, this report is also specific to your brand. It's not like generic all across Amazon, but it's for your brand. And this gives you per product, it tells you what are the other products that people are buying together. So it could be something else from your own catalog, or it could be something that, some other ASIN, not even from your catalog, that people are always buying together. And they also give you a percentage of times when that combination happens. Then this one is also very insightful. It tells you, which items were compared together with yours. So it gives you per item in your catalog, which were the other items compared. And then alternate purchase behavior is what are the products that they ended up buying, which means they maybe came to your page, but they actually ended up buying some other product. So that's the alternate purchase behavior, which is also very important because it gives us an insight into what our competitors might be, better for. And so kind of learning from what the competitors, listing looks like and so on, so that you can maybe use some of those strategies on your own listing. And then finally, you have demographics, which basically tells you the spread across different age groups or, different household income, education level, and so on for your products. So the first one is all of Amazon. The rest are for your products specifically. So so with that, let's dive into some of the details of each of these reports. So the first one is the search terms on Amazon. And this is what it looks like. It has a few different components to it. And I'll just show you the live brand analytics in just a minute. But basically, it'll tell you what department we are searching in. So basically, department is another way of saying what market, or within that, which sub category on Amazon. You can pick those. It tells you which was the most searched term on Amazon, and it gives you a ranking here. So now this ranking is called the search frequency rank. It tells you how frequently something is searched and what is the ranking of that frequency. So if this keyword, of course, right now is very topical, disposable face mask. This is showing up as number 1 on Amazon out of 2 million different searches that happen. This is the most frequently searched keyword. So that tells us a lot about how important it is. And then so on. You can see face mask, pop it. This is a a game, or it's like a TikTok trend. And oftentimes, TikTok trends will show up on brand analytics, and you can see how those two marketplaces can, well, two platforms can kind of come together, and that information that we can get from TikTok trends, etc., they kind of start showing up here. So now search frequency rank, as as the name suggests, it's different from search volume, but it can be used as a proxy for search volume. So like tools like Jungle Scout, Helium 10, Viral Launch, etc., they might give you the search volume of each keyword, like how many times something is searched per month. But this one tells you how popular that keyword is, how often it is searched. It doesn't give you a number, but it tells you how often. So I like to use this for my keyword research, because it just it just makes sense to kind of extract these keywords, sort them in a spreadsheet, and then find the best expressions that I wouldn't know otherwise, right? So this is really useful. Okay, so I'm going to lightly go over that and then go into a little bit more detail. So the reporting period for this, these trends obviously changes from day to day. Like, so you can have a different, keyword showing up on number one every day, right? Every day it could be different. So there's 4 different date ranges that Amazon allows you to search your data for. So that is daily, weekly, monthly, and quarterly. And the way the number of results that you get shows up is kind of decreasing in this order, because there's a lot of duplication and so on that they get rid of. So for example, you'll get the most results for daily, then a slightly less number of results for weekly, slightly less for monthly, and slightly less for quarterly, because there's a lot of cleaning up that they do of data. And so this is how you can get. So as you can see, for quarterly, you can get up to 1.5 million searches. So yeah, this is interesting. I often go by weekly because I know this is a recent trend, or I go by monthly. For quarterly, I use quarterly for like checking for trends across quarters. So Q1, Q2, Q4, what are the major trends that are happening each quarter? So that's how I use that information. All right, so now let's look at department. I mentioned it briefly. So department, when you click on the department tab, this is what shows up. So you have a bunch of, I would say these are like subcategories showing up on Amazon, but there's also stuff that doesn't show up directly on Amazon.com, but it's, kind of categories that Amazon is recording, like Alexa skills and, Amazon custom. There's a few here that are kind of weird. Then of course they have Amazon Basics, so you can look at all of Amazon's brands here, the ones that they call Amazon Basics, and then all the others, as you can see here. So what you can do is you can go into each one of these, and you can get a ranking just for that subcategory. So let me show you what it actually looks like. So I'm going into brand analytics right here. So here is the department, Amazon.com. So let's say if I go into let's go into baby. So if I go into baby and I say apply, it shows me what is the number 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. within the baby category, right? So diaper, bag, and so on. So this is really great, because then you can isolate your searches to a department that is applicable to your type of products and do your research there. As you can see, there's only 2,618 important keywords that are relevant in this category. If I choose another category, let's say camera and photo, there's only 206. So each category will have a different number, but within that, you can have everything sorted in search frequency rank order, which is really cool. There's also some weird ones which I find interesting, like, let me show you one that I found interesting. Warehouse deals. If I go into warehouse deals, it's showing me what kind of stuff is showing up on warehouse deals. There's 697 keywords within the warehouse deals category, which is again quite interesting. So now, let's say you've got all the keywords that you want to research, and you want to now download this information. So it's very easy. Amazon has made it extremely easy. You can either download right away, or you could schedule an email just to remind you. I think this is not as useful because it just tells you that your data is ready, so you have to go there and still do the download. So you can download as Excel or as CSV, and then you can process it offline, get rid of the keywords that you don't need, and do creative stuff with that. So here are some of my use cases, how I use the search term report. So first of all, I will use it for SEO, which means I will use it to find the right keywords that can help me, that I can add into my title, into my backend keywords, A+, and so on. And then I can check for the most popular variant and then use that in the head of the title. I think I have an example here. Let me show you. Yeah, okay. So here, let's say if I type the word Coca-Cola when I'm doing my search, it shows me that the search frequency rank is 10,648. But then if I do the same thing with a dash in between, which actually is the correct way of doing it, I get 310,000 as the search frequency rank, which means it's way down. The smaller the number, the more popular it is, right? So, this just tells me that I would rather use this variant of the keyword in my title or in my bullet points to attract the most impressions, because if Amazon sees that your listing has a certain keyword, and if a buyer types that search term, then there's a match, right? So you can get a lot more traffic when there is a popular search term that is present on your listing compared to a less popular. Now you do want to include both of these somewhere, but you want to prioritize the important keywords for the head of your title. So let's say absolute head of the title, or at least within the first 2 or 3 bullet points. So that's kind of the way you would pick your variants, by researching within brand analytics. The other thing you can use it is to identify popular products or product niches for anything that you're researching. If you just want to use this tool for seeing what is trending, what has been trending over time, what trends in a certain season. So like I said, Q4, you can go back a couple years. I think they let you go back to 2018. So you can check every quarter and see how those particular keywords have trended over time. So you can do that to find these niches, and seasonal products. You can discover long tail keyword variants, right? So I have a trick here that I want to share with your audience, which is when you search for keywords within brand analytics, you should always start with a seed keyword that is as small as you can get it to be. So I'll give you an example. So here is the search term field, right? So let's say if I want to, I'm going to switch back to Amazon.com. And let's say if I type a search like garlic. So let's say if I just want to do a garlic press kind of search, but I won't put the words garlic press. I'll just use the word garlic because I want to see what else is there for garlic, right? What are the different things that go with garlic? So I can see here that garlic press is at number 2. Then there is garlic supplement, garlic chopper. So I wouldn't have guessed this word. I don't really call it that. Garlic chopper, then garlic mincer, another keyword, garlic peeler, garlic crusher. So there's a lot of words, garlic press, stainless steel. So I found a lot of words by simply putting the shortest possible search term. But if I had put garlic press to start with, because I think that's my keyword, if I did that, then I'm not getting as many words, because Amazon is only going to return only those search terms that have both of these words in them, right? So start small to get the maximum leverage out of brand analytics. That's what I do. And then you can do it a couple different times. Like you can iterate. You can first start with garlic, and then you can also use the second search you could do is just for press. And that also will give you a few different, maybe not in this case, but sometimes you get long tail keywords for, let's see, garlic press stainless steel shows up here. So that's a duplicate, but that's okay. So I guess maybe in this case, it wasn't such a great example, but oftentimes when there's like a 2-word keyword for your product, you can try both of them separately, and then, clean up the list later on after you've downloaded from here. So we talked about long tail keywords, we're starting with the seed, and now let's talk about competitors to target. Competitors, you can find out for every single search term, what are the top 3 ranking products? And you can find them out by scrolling a little to the right of the search. Okay, let me just switch back to garlic. So now let me scroll to the right a little bit. So you can see what the search frequency rank was. Now you see these sections. You see number 1 clicked ASIN for that keyword. You also get the title, and you get the click share, which is what percentage of all the clicks went to that product for that keyword. And then number 1 conversion share, which is also, the percentage of conversions or sales or orders actually that went to that product. So that's for ASIN number 1. Then you have the same section for ASIN number 2. And then you have the same kind of section for ASIN number 3. So 3 top ASINs that have been getting sales for that particular keyword, like garlic press. All right, so let's look at what else we can glean from here. You can actually click right into the ASIN and see a quick view of the product. So that's easy, and it's very it saves you a little bit of time. You can also go straight to that product from here to their detail page and find out more about it. And just by looking at these percentages, you can kind of get a sense of how big the market is, right? So this is saying that 20% of the market or share of voice is going to this particular ASIN, right? So that's quite interesting. As we scroll down to the right, we can see the third one is getting only 10% of the market. So between the top 3, we've got 10% going to number 3, 13% going to number 2, and 20%. So top 3 ASINs have taken about 40% of the total number of clicks, right? So that kind of gives you an idea. Sometimes this figure is extremely thin or narrow, which basically means that the market is pretty fragmented. So let me just click on this to sort descending to show you. So like this one, right? This one, it's saying that the top ASIN is only getting 13% of the total number of clicks, which means that there might be a lot of competition. And if we scroll to the left, you see garlic powder, which does look like a product that has quite a bit of competitors, and even the top seller is only getting a very small slice of the pie. So that's how you could read into this data to find out what is going on. And then sometimes you'll see, I'm going to scroll this descending to show you something else very, very interesting. So I just did it intentionally to show you where the conversion share was very low. So you can see this particular one, this garlic peeler silicone tube roller. This product is getting 50% of all the clicks, but they're getting no conversions. Right, and oftentimes this happens because there's some sort of manipulation happening. So you can detect that when you're looking at these numbers, and you can see how it's highly unlikely that 50% of all the clicks go to that and no conversions, right? Unless the product is pretty, pretty bad, and that half the people that go in, I mean, they don't even buy that product, which is unlikely. So this, you can detect some sort of manipulation happening here as well. So I think I jumped to the last point, spot keyword manipulation by competitors. Okay, so I'm going to go back here. You can also find out one more interesting thing from this report, which is what keywords are your competitors ranking for in the first 3 spots. Like a lot of tools have this thing called a reverse ASIN lookup, where you put in an ASIN and then you can get all of their keywords, right? Now, this is not going to give you all of their keywords. They're only going to give you the keywords that are in positions 1, 2, or 3 in terms of click share, right? Those are the 3 that kind of show up. So how would you do that? For that, you would, let me just pick one that has a decent conversion rate. Okay, let me just, let's pick this guy. I don't know, it's maybe, okay, let me pick this guy up. Sometimes it's possible to do it. Okay, so I've cleared the search terms field, and I'm going to put the ASIN right here to see if they are ranking for anything, and they are, right? So they are ranking for 3 keywords, and they're getting quite a bit of the click share, quite a bit of the conversion share. So they definitely own this keyword, right? Yeah. Oh, sorry. So this is a different product. Sorry, I meant this one, these two, right? So they are getting quite a bit of the click share and conversion share. So that's how you can basically research your competitors by just putting their ASIN here and seeing if they are a strong competitor or weak competitor. This is the way to test it out. So we talked about competitors ranking, and then the other really cool thing you can do with brand analytics is that, you know, the way they have arranged their table is you know, something that makes it extremely easy to click directly into the keyword for search across Amazon. So I'll show you what that means. So for example, this keyword, right, they made it a hyperlink, so you can actually click on this truffle seasoning keyword. I click here, and now I can see all of the truffle seasoning related products here. So it's easy, you know, for you to kind of see, okay, when you're doing your research, you can see, okay, so truffle seasoning looks like this is, okay, so it's 4 sponsored products showing up right on the top. There's a bunch of these showing up, so you can actually directly see how many you know, reviews and so on. So it is just an easy click. You could also type these words in directly, but it just makes it easier when you see some long tail keywords and, you know, you're not going to be typing those in, but from here you can just go in and see, okay, how big is this market? Like how many sellers are there? What kind of products are showing up? So this one looks like it's not such a big market. There's just a few that showed up, and then some other random products started showing up. So that's how you can kind of look at you know, this research and kind of go back and forth to kind of determine what, you know, you want to go after, which keywords you want to go after. So I think these are some of the top ways in which I kind of use brand analytics, and I'm constantly finding new things there. It's like such a goldmine of information and so many different kind of insights. All right, let's move on to the next. Sorry, I'm going to skip through this. Okay, so here I was basically trying to show that, you know, when you're doing a keyword research with brand analytics, it's really important to start with a seed keyword. And for example, if you have this product, this juice, Monster Energy juice drink, the keywords that you can use as examples for seed keywords could be as short as these, right? You can look for drink, juice, energy, cola, beverage as a starting point. So that was basically what I wanted to share here. All right, let's move on to market basket. That's the second, you know, view in this selection of reports. So in the market basket analysis, there's a couple of different things that you could do. Okay, so first of all, you can select which of the products that were purchased together, which category they fall under. Are they my products only? Are they my products excluded? Or are they all products, right? So this distinction basically helps you you know, find any other products that were purchased together with yours. And I generally use that as a starting point for running product targeting ads. So let's recap what market basket actually looks like in case you know, your readers haven't heard that term or don't know what that means. So market basket is a term from data science, and it basically means it's the study of products that are purchased together in the same basket. So when you go shopping in a grocery store, you have a basket and you put stuff into it, right? And so, you know, data scientists analyze the contents of that market basket, and they determine which products are frequently purchased with other products. So, for example, you know, some studies have shown that 71% of the people who buy milk will also buy bread, you know, or 40% of the people who buy milk will also buy eggs. And let's say 29% of the people who buy milk will also buy toilet paper. So now you've got bread, you've got milk, and you've got toilet paper. They're completely different products, but for some reason, they are often found together in the same basket. So how is this research used? Well, this is used by people who design aisles so that these products are placed close to each other in proximity so that it's easy for people to grab, because it is a reflection of the pattern that people have exhibited over and over again. So you make use of that pattern by arranging things on your shelf close to each other or in logical ways so that they're easy to find. Now, that same information can be used by us on Amazon, uh, because if we know that 29% of the time my product is being bought together with this other product, then I should proactively place an ad on this other product, right? So that when someone looks at it, they're like, oh yeah, I probably need that, and so they'll click into your ad and they will buy your product. So that percentage is so important, and fortunately Amazon actually gives us those percentages. It tells you number one, combination percentage. So this is how the table looks like. It tells you what percent of the time that combination happened together. So like in this particular case, I'm not showing all the details, but this is my ASIN, this is my product title, and this is the number one purchased ASIN together with mine. And it tells you what percentage of the time it's purchased together. That's great, right? This information, the higher this number, the better it is, because it really indicates a pattern. So I pick up these ASINs from right here, and I use them in a product targeting ad going specifically after them. So that's how I use it. And of course, this also has ranges similar to the search term. So you can go back a week, quarter, and so on. All right. Next, let's look at item comparison, and this is just telling you which of the products were purchased or compared with yours. So you have up to 5 products that Amazon gives you details about, and this is a horizontal scroll bar, pretty long. So it tells you what percentage of the time your product was compared with this other product. So if people are comparing your product with other products, that is important information for us, because then we know that there's an interest in these similar products. It may not be frequently bought together, but they're at least researched. So it's a different angle at data analysis. But by knowing that, again, we can use that information to place our ad on these other competitors that people are already comparing us against. So this really helps to pull any people who are at the bottom of the funnel of your competitors, to pull them into your funnel. So that's how I look at it. These are just ways to pull people into your funnel, which is just your listing, by proactively going after them through product targeting ads. And then alternate purchase behavior is similar, except that alternate purchase behavior tells you what are the products that they ended up buying, which means they are stronger competitors that people are leaving your product for. So you should pay attention to those alternative purchases that have happened, so that you can learn from there, see what was different, what was better, and try to emulate that on your listing. All right. So now let's look at repeat purchase behavior. This is, again, very interesting because it tells you what are the different repeat purchases that are happening, how many orders, how many unique customers you got, and what was the total repeat percentage of the total. So that, I mean, it's really interesting because that is giving you an insight into which products do people come back for. And if that's the case, then you have a strength there, and you can leverage that. You can double down on it, and maybe if you're thinking of another product line, you know which ones are a good starting point for you to kind of hone in on. Finally, we have demographics, which is, I guess, it is not the type of information that's going to change very frequently. It's pretty standard. So if it's stable and standard, you're not going to be using this report that often, but it's good to have a glance once in a while just to see, okay, what type of people are interested in my products, right? What are the age ranges? There's a few different things they show: age range, household income, education, gender, marital status. All this information can be viewed. And then a lot of people do not disclose their information. So there's also this section which says information not available. So you can absolutely click this off so that you don't get this information in the mix, and just look at what your age ranges are, or your other important information is falling under which category. So to summarize, I just want to say that all of these different reports that we're getting from brand analytics, I just want to, I visualize this on a funnel, a sales funnel, to see which part of the sales funnel am I able to attack with the information contained in all of these reports. So let's look at all of them. So at the very top, you have the demographics report. It is like very high level information, people who are in the age range of 18 to 45 or whatever are interested in my product. So that's giving me a very broad sense of top of funnel information. So I can go after those types of audiences. Maybe I can use that information for Facebook advertising if I'm doing something on the side, or some other social media. Attribution beta, which we didn't cover today, but this is basically coming from your own attribution tags that you set up outside of Amazon, and that will track and measure how much of that traffic actually converts. So that's also actually available within the brand analytics data. But this is again telling you what are the sources that are worth leveraging. So again, it's very high level, top of funnel kind of information that you can basically use at the top of the funnel. Then we have search terms, which I think is, you're using this information to see, okay, what are the keywords that are worth going after, right? So this is basically telling you what kind of behaviors are happening at the top of the funnel, which you can learn from. Then you have item comparison. This is a little bit more into the funnel, because now people are comparing your product with other products, other products with other products. So that information is really useful for determining the consideration phase of the buyer journey, because this is where people are doing their research, right? That information goes in here. At the bottom of the funnel, you have the repeat purchases information that's coming from brand analytics, and the market basket. Both of these will tell you which information about stuff that's already being purchased from you, and what products are purchased together with your products from you. So these are popular products worth repeating. Market basket is evergreen products that you can cross sell with, right? So that information is almost like very bottom of funnel in my mind. And then here on the side, where people exhibited alternative purchase behavior, that's basically products you lost the market share to. So this is worth emulating. So these guys are not interested in your product right now, but once you've implemented some of the interesting things that they're doing, then you can start becoming attractive to this audience as well. So this is how I generally look at all the different reports within brand analytics, place them on this funnel in my mind. I love funnels. And that's how I kind of see the relative importance of all of these different very important data points on Amazon. So yeah, so with that, I'd like to wrap up, and if there's any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Thank you so much. It was such a nice detailed overview, and I'm sure all the viewers really enjoyed it. So Ritu, I'm sure this tool might look a little bit overwhelming for the sellers at first. So in your opinion, what are the first sections or elements of the tool sellers should really look first into it when they start using the tool for the first time?
Yeah, I think the easiest one definitely would be search terms, which I think anything you want to research, just start with the seed keyword and go from here. I think that would be the easiest. And then the second one would be using your ASINs or your competitors' ASINs here to see what they are ranking for in the top 3 positions, and just use that information for your PPC. So those would be the 2 easy ones to start with.
Very good. I actually wanted to ask your opinion about what do you think why Amazon has now started to give more information for brand owners on Amazon. For example, we didn't have that kind of reports available before, and we know that we might expect even more new tools in the future for the brand owners.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think there might be two different reasons why they started revealing so much information. One, of course, is the pressure from the governments of the world that are trying to say, hey, antitrust and whatnot. You're just holding on to our information. This information should be shared, and so on. So there's a little bit of pressure that might have initiated this release of this kind of information. But I think now Amazon has realized that more power to the sellers, the more they benefit, right? Like the more information I have on my advertising reports or this kind of information, the more I'm going to spend on PPC, because I think I might have a chance on some keyword that I didn't know of, or things like that. So I as an advertiser, I'm more motivated to put money on Amazon if I know that I'm not shooting in the dark, when I know that my choices are based on data. So in empowering us, it helps everyone, but most of all, it helps Amazon. So I think they've realized that this is a good thing to keep on going. So they're giving us more and more.
Thanks a lot for sharing your thoughts. So if anyone has any questions about this topic or about PPC in general, then what is the best way to reach out to you? And could you once more explain how PPC Ninja helps Amazon sellers?
So you can follow me on LinkedIn. I'm very active there, and that's my handle. I'm also partially active on Twitter, but mostly on LinkedIn. So I post a lot of content there. I also, write for our blog on the PPC Ninja blog. So you can look up ppcninja.com. In addition, just to give you a quick intro to our software. So our software is great for agencies as well as individual sellers. It can be used to analyze your data in many different ways. So we provided a lot of filters, double filters, and a lot of bulk operations to slice and dice your data different ways, and then apply bulk filters for across all the campaigns, all the keywords, and so on. We also provide daily bid recommendations, keyword harvesting recommendations, and so on. And at this point, we're offering a 4-week mastermind to go along with, so anyone who signs up for the 4-week mastermind program also gets access to PPC Ninja for free for 4 weeks. And these are conducted live. We have 2 sessions running in a day so that we can cover the globe. And at this point, we've done about 22 mastermind programs with sellers from all over the world joining and learning about PPC concepts and so on. So yeah, I'd love to invite your audience to sign up for this. If they have any experience with advertising on Amazon, we only require that you have done some advertising. And if you have, then you're free to join.
Sounds very good. So all the viewers, you can go to that link and sign up. So thanks again for joining me today to share your knowledge, and hope to see you soon.
Thank you so much, Ritu. It was enjoyable. Really loved it. Thank you.
I hope you enjoyed this video, and in case you decide to sign up for PPC Ninja to optimize your Amazon PPC performance, find the link below together with a special offer that gives you a discount for the first month. And now I would like to recommend to check out video where Guy Heretz shares 7 ways to get sales from your competitors using PPC. It's a nice strategy you might want to implement in your business.